We know from the brain scan research led by Bessel van der Kolk that traumatic experiences are encoded in the brain primarily as body and emotional memories. And that narrative memory, I'm pointing at this part of the brain because this is where we store narrative memory. Narrative memory for trauma is more fragmented, more incomplete, because when we're traumatically activated, the prefrontal cortex shuts down. So I think in most cases, the client with deep-seated resentment is stuck in those feeling memories of being wronged then. But of course, because these are memories that are being triggered in the present, the feeling I am being wronged feels absolutely real. And sometimes I can help people to see that. I can help them. I say, I'm wondering if this feeling of being wronged, so deeply wronged, is a memory of a childhood in which you were very little and the wrongs done to you were very big. And notice that I'm reframing it, but I'm doing so with a lot of empathy, because that's my one way of hopefully breaking through this belief I am being wronged. And sometimes clients are relieved to know that they're remembering being wrong. And I have to say, I don't mean to say that your coworker's behavior is okay or that your brother-in-law's behavior is okay, not a bit. But that really painful, deep feeling of being wronged, maybe that's the memory of being that little kid. And often clients get that. Sometimes they don't. and I'm thinking actually today about a client who didn't. So let me say a little bit about what does work, because I think really that's more helpful than sharing a way in which nothing worked. The most successful approach I've found to deep-seated resentment, first reframing it as feeling memory, and then also saying, living well is really the best revenge. Well, I'm not living well because look how I've been wronged. And I say, yeah. And so if you're not living well because you were wronged, they're still winning. They still have the power to make your life miserable. And, that's not right. I say, absolutely. That's exactly why I'm saying it. Because I don't want them to win, and you don't want them to win. But the only way for you to win is to live well despite them. And sometimes with these clients who have such deep-seated resentment, that approach makes them feel that they're being wronged by the therapist. Because it works so well with most resentful clients, I still always try it. But there's always the risk that in some clients may feel that you really don't understand. Resentment, remember, is connected to the emotion of anger. The emotion of anger is connected to the human or to the animal defense of fight. So one of the things that I always think about when I think about resentment is that there is anger that is waiting to mobilize a fight response that was never allowed to complete. And this is an idea that comes from Pat Ogden and sensory motor psychotherapy, Peter Levine and somatic experiencing, that the defenses, the animal defenses, fight, flight, when they are ineffective, when they have to be held back, as when the victim submits because it isn't safe to fight, that the trauma can't resolve because the defense hasn't gone to completion. So using a sensory motor psychotherapy approach, I would try to help the client connect the feeling of resentment to the body experience of resentment. And usually, if I ask the client to notice the somatic sensations connected to resentment, there is some description of muscles engaging. The fist clenches, the shoulders get tight, the arms get tight. And often we can help clients to complete that urge to push away. And I then, for that purpose, I have to help the client notice the resentment without in any way minimizing it or suggesting that it's a problem, because then the fight response will get turned on me, which is not terribly helpful for either of us. So I can ask them to notice the resentment. I can even call it anger or indignation, and then ask them to notice how their body is experiencing the resentment. And if the client is still fixated, and that can happen, I'm thinking about my failed case with someone with deep-seated resentment. What I didn't do with her that I would have done now is I would have reframed the resentment as a positive. I would have said, good for you, even though it costs you so much to feel that anger and resentment, you're holding them accountable. Or I could say, congratulations, it's hard to hold on to resentment for so long because it's so painful. But good for you because you're not going to let these people off the hook. And when you reframe something positively, it's easier for clients to say, yeah, I'm holding them accountable, but my life is miserable. Then I could say, good point. So what you're saying is, it's costing you a lot to hold on to this resentment. So those are the best ways to challenge resentment. And I think it's very, very hard. And I feel empathy for the client whose resentment ended our therapy, because eventually she came to resent me, and I think it was inevitable because there was no one in her life toward whom she didn't feel resentful, which then makes me think, okay, that's probably feeling memory that's getting attached to all the different players in her life, including her therapist, unfortunately.